How gymnastics evolved from exercising naked. Throughout human history, in all corners of the globe, people have flipped and spun and twisted to explore the limits of the human body. Egyptian hieroglyphs depicts backbends according to Britannica, and stone engravings from ancient China illustrate acrobats. The word gymnastics is derived from the ancient Greek gymnazein, meaning to exercise naked. The sport, now among the Olympics' most beloved events, was born millennia ago as young men trained for war in the buff. Throughout the human history in all corners of the globe, people have flipped and spun and twisted to explore the limits of the human body. Egyptian hieroglyphs depict backbends according to Britannica, and stone engravings from ancient China illustrate acrobats. In arenas today, gymnasts compete on a series of what are called apparatuses. Both men and women do a tumbling routine called a floor exercise and launch themselves off a vault. But their other events are different. Men compete in a total of six: the floor, the vault, the pommel horse, steel rings, parallel bars, and horizontal bar. Women compete in just four, with the balance beam and uneven bars added to the floor and vault. It wasn't always that way. Early gymnasts included activities like rope climbing. So, how did gymnasts move from young Greeks training naked to specific, highly calibrated events with a complicated scoring system? Pommel horse. At the games, men swing around a leather covered block with handles called a pommel horse that in early iterations roughly mimicked the size and shape of the actual animal. Alexander the Great, king of Macedonia from 336 to 323 BC, had his Macedonian soldier train on a similar device to practice mounting their horses for battle, according to the European Gymnast Service. The modern version was invented in the early 19th century by German Friedrich Ludwig Jahn, known as the father of gymnastics, for founding a series of gymnastics centers meant to cultivate health and patriotism. These gyms were meant in part to get young Germans ready to defend the country against Napoleon's French military. Jahn also invented the early versions of the bar exercises that exist today. Parallel bars and horizontal bars for men and the women's uneven bars evolved from the parallel bars to showcase agility and elegance. The vault. For most of modern gymnastics history, the vault looked like the pommel horse without handles. Both men and women sprint forwarded, flip and launch themselves into a series of spins and twists. But it was redesigned 2 decades ago after horrific injuries in the 1980s and 1990s as gymnasts started trying more risky maneuvers. American Julissa Gomez was paralyzed in a vault accident in 1988 and died 3 years later. A decade later, Chinese gymnast Sang Lan fell, broke her neck, and was paralyzed. Then, in the 2000 Olympics in Sydney, the vault was set 2 inches too low. In the sport of precision and timing, the problem caused a disastrous set of mistakes, including one athlete nearly missing the vault entirely. The new apparatus was called vaulting table and has a wider, more cushioned surface for athletes to spring from. Slate magazine reported in 2004, when it made its first Olympics debut, that athletes had taken to calling it the tongue. Steel rings. When men suspend themselves on 2 rings hanging from straps, they are performing the gymnastics event that required the most physical strength of any of the apparatuses. They are called steel rings because gymnasts attempt to keep them stationary as possible as they swing into different positions. They were originally called the Roman rings because their origin as strength training device is believed to date back thousands of years in Italy. In early iterations of the modern Olympics, they were sometimes referred to as flying rings. Balance beam. The balance beam started off hundreds of years ago as log suspended in the air. It has been refined over the years to a padded beam, 16 feet long, 4 feet high and 4 inches wide. It is considered the women's event that requires the more focus and precision. A minuscule misstep can send a gymnast tumbling to the ground. Thank you.